Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into the heart of Italian national security. We're looking at a key organization, but one maybe not everyone knows much about. The Department of Information for Security, the DIS.
That's right.
We've gathered the official documents, structure, history, functions, all that. And our mission really is to break down what DIS is, what it actually does, and why it matters so much for Italy's security. Think of this as the quick guide to understanding this central player operating behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And linchpin is a good word for it. The DIS really is central to Italy's whole intelligence setup. It was established, August 28, 2007.
Okay.
And this came out of a pretty major overhaul of the country's security services. It was all part of Law Number 124, which actually came out in the Gazzetta Ufficiale, their official journal, earlier that August 3rd, I believe.
So not just a random creation, but part of a bigger reform.
Exactly. A deliberate restructuring. They were aiming to really streamline and boost Italy's intelligence capabilities.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more then. Where does this agency, the DIS, actually sit within the Italian government structure?
Right. So it's a department directly under the presidency of the Council of Ministers.
So the Prime Minister's office, essentially.
Yeah, basically the PM's office puts it right at the core of the executive branch strategically. And it's a key part of this broader system they call the Sistema di Informazione per la Sicurezza della Repubblica.
The information system for the security of the Republic.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And its headquarters are in Rome, Piazza Dante. Interesting little detail. They mark their anniversaries on August 3rd, the date the law was actually passed.
Okay.
They also have a website, sicurezzanazionale.gov.it, if you want to dig deeper.
Good to know. And who's in charge? Who's currently heading up the DIS?
The current general director is Vittorio Rizzi. He took office fairly recently, actually, January 15th, 2025. But he follows a line of pretty prominent figures. People like General Giuseppe Cucci, Prefect Gianni De Gennaro, Ambassador Giampiero Massolo, Prefect Alessandro Pansa, General Gennaro Vecchione, and Ambassador Elisabetta Belloni. Quite a list.
Wow. Yeah, a mix of backgrounds there. Military, prefects, ambassadors.
Exactly. Each bringing their own perspective to that critical role.
So the general director is obviously key. How does that role interact with the prime minister and the sort of wider government setup?
Well, the general director leads the department, as you'd expect, and DIS reports directly to the prime minister.
Right.
But the PM can choose to delegate some security responsibilities. There's a role called the Delegated Authority for Security of the Republic.
Interesting.
And crucially, the prime minister appoints and can also dismiss the general director. But they have to consult CISR first.
CISR.
The Interministerial Committee for the Security of the Republic. We'll probably talk more about that.
Okay. So consultation is needed.
Yes. And it's similar for appointing deputy directors. The PM needs to consult the general director before making the final call.
Right. So it sounds like there are some checks and balances built in at that top level. What about the term length for the general director? Do they stay for long?
There's a limit. It's a maximum term of 4 years.
Okay.
And they can only be renewed once. So max 8 years total.
That probably encourages, some rotation, fresh thinking.
I think that's the idea. And one other important thing, the general director also acts as the secretary for that committee we just mentioned, CISR.
Okay, CISR keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So what is this interministerial committee for the security of the Republic? And how does the DIS director, being its secretary, affect things?
Right. So CISR is basically where different government ministries involved in national security come together. Think interior, defense, foreign affairs, economy, etc. It's a coordinating body.
Makes sense.
And having the DIS head as its secretary. Well, that ensures a really direct, constant link between the intelligence community represented by DIS and these key government departments.
So information flows smoothly, and the DIS is right there in the strategic discussions.
Exactly. It keeps DIS plugged into national security policy at the highest levels.
Okay, so DIS is this central coordinator.
Yeah.
What are the main parts inside DIS? What are the key offices doing the work?
Good question. There are several key offices. One is the Central Security Office, UCAC.
UCAC.
Their main job is protecting state secrets, administratively speaking. So they're the ones who grant security clearances. Or revoke them.
Right, for access to classified info.
Exactly. And specifically, we're talking the higher levels here, riservatissimo, segreteo, and segretissimo. So above just confidential.
And how long do those clearances last?
It depends on the level. 10 years for Risorgissimo and Segreto, and 5 years for the very top level, Segretissimo. Reflects the sensitivity.
State secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge responsibility. What other key bits are inside DIS?
Well, there's a Central Archives Office, UCA.
Archives.
Pretty much what it sounds like. They coordinate and manage all the data held by Italy's intelligence services. That means both AIS, the external agency, and ASI, the internal one.
Ah, so AIS and ASI are the operational agencies, and UCA manages their collected data centrally.
You got it. Think of it as the central memory bank and custodian for all that sensitive intelligence information, critical for keeping track of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Maintaining that historical context and coherence. Now, what about keeping things in line? Accountability, ethical conduct, that sort of thing.
That's where the Central Inspective Office comes in, the UCI.
UCI. Okay, inspection.
Yep. This is a really important internal oversight body. They're like the internal auditors for AIS and ASI.
Checking up on them.
Essentially, yes. Making sure their activities follow the laws, the regulations, any directives from the Prime Minister. They can also run internal investigations.
Into who?
Into current or former members of the intelligence system. Sometimes COPACER asks them to investigate something.
The COPACER. That's the Parliamentary Oversight Committee.
Exactly. But any UCI investigation needs the okay from the Prime Minister or that delegated authority figure.
Sounds like the UCI has some serious teeth. How independent are they really?
Well, the law is pretty clear on this. It guarantees their inspectors have full judgment, autonomy, and independence when they're doing their job.
Mm.
And importantly, their inspections aren't meant to disrupt ongoing operations unless they get specific authorization. There's also a rigorous selection process for inspectors' tests, special training.
And can they move between UCI and the agencies?
No, crucially, UCI personnel cannot be transferred to AIS or AI. That helps avoid potential conflicts of interest.
I see. Keeps them separate.
Right. And they have pretty wide access to information across the whole intelligence system, with authorization, of course. They can even request info from public and private bodies, going through the DIS General Director. It's quite a robust setup for internal checks.
It really does sound like a thorough system for oversight. Okay, what's the last main functional bit within DIS we should know about?
The final major piece is the training school, Scuola di Formazione.
Training the spies.
Well, training the intelligence professionals, yes. Personnel from DIS itself, but also from AIS and ACC.
Okay.
And what's interesting is how they do it. They use civilian teachers, resources from public administration, universities, think tanks.
Not just internal trainers, then.
No, and not just from Italy either. They pull expertise from abroad, too. It suggests they're really trying to bring in diverse viewpoints and academic discipline into how they develop their people.
So DIS isn't just about the now, it's also about building future capability. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. What are the main overarching tasks of DIS as a whole?
Okay, big picture. DIS is the central coordinator for all security information activities.
Coordinator.
Yes, and that includes checking the results that AIS and AC come up with. They manage this constant flow of information.
Kroner.
From the intelligence agencies, obviously, but also from the military, the police forces, different government departments, even research bodies, public and private.
Well.
All that flows into DIS, and then they synthesize it and pass it up to the Prime Minister.
So DIS is like the main intelligence clearinghouse, making sure the PM gets the full picture.
Precisely. But it's more than just relaying info. They actively work to make sure AIS, ASI, and the police forces are sharing information effectively between themselves.
Fostering cooperation.
Yes. And they report on how well that's working to the PM. Then, after consulting CISR again, that intelligence can be shared with other relevant public bodies too.
Got it.
And one more thing, they're heavily involved in planning, resource planning. They work with AIS and ASI to figure out what people, equipment, and other resources are needed. Then they put together these acquisition plans for the Prime Minister to approve.
It sounds like DIS sets the overall strategy while AIS and ASI handle the operational side. Is that fair?
That's a pretty good way to put it, yeah. AIS and ASI do their specialized operational research. DIS focuses more on the strategic analysis, looking at broader trends, specific situations from a higher level. They develop forecasts and estimates, building on what AIS and AI provide, and DIS produces these big picture global analyses for CIS, pulling everything together. They also propose major information research projects to the PM, again, after running it by CSR.
You mentioned earlier that DIS came out of a reform that got rid of older agencies. Can you quickly remind us of that connection?
Sure. Yeah, that 2007 reform was a big shift. DIS, along with the new A's and ACI, replaced the three previous main bodies, CSIS, CISME, and CISIT.
Yeah.
And specifically, DIS essentially absorbed the functions of CSIS. It took over and expanded on that central coordination role that CSIS used to have. The idea was to make the whole system more integrated, more efficient.
So it built on what was there, but aimed for a more unified structure.
Okay.
And finally, the legal basis. You mentioned Law 124 from 2007 as the foundation. Are there other key laws or decrees?
Yes, Law 124 is the cornerstone, but there are others that flesh out the details. There's a DPCM, that's a decree of the President of the Council of Ministers #2 from October 2012. That sets out the specific operating rules for DIS.
Okay, the nuts and bolts.
Right. And another DPCM, #1 from March 2011, deals with the legal and economic status of the personnel working there. So those three, Law 124, DPCM 2012, and DPCM 2011 together form the main legal framework.
Got it. So summing up, DIS is Italy's intelligence coordinator, reporting to the PM, managing the other agencies, handling state secrets, providing oversight through bodies like the UCI, and even training the next generation. It's really positioned right at the center of national security.
That's it, exactly. A strategically vital organization, absolutely critical for protecting Italy's interests.
And when you start looking at the details, like that Central Inspective Office, the UCI, the fact that it's built into DIS but has this legally guaranteed independence to investigate the operational agencies, well, that really stands out.
It does.
It suggests a real structural commitment to accountability, which, isn't always the first thing you associate with intelligence work. It makes you wonder how that compares to oversight models elsewhere.
That's a really sharp point. That emphasis on an independent UCI is significant. It shows they recognize the risks involved in intelligence work and how vital public trust is. You need those internal controls.
Yeah.
And the way it's designed, preventing staff moving into the agencies, giving it broad access, it seems like a deliberate effort to make sure that oversight is actually effective, not just on paper.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? Well, getting a handle on the DIS gives you a real insight into how Italy tackles national security challenges today. This complex, fast-moving world.
Mm-hmm.
And given how central DIS is coordinating, overseeing everything, you have to ask, how much does its effectiveness really impact Italy's overall security posture against modern threats?
Right.
And maybe think about those layers of oversight we discussed. What are the potential benefits, but also maybe the inherent challenges or, tensions in running such a structured intelligence system?
Good questions to ponder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This deep dive gives you the foundation, we hope, and it might encourage you to look further into A's and A's, the operational arms, to get an even clearer picture of the whole Italian security setup. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.